Oh, yeah. Is it Saturday already? Yes, you read that correctly. The next 7 Star Wars movies have been confirmed, have been revealed by Kathleen Kennedy, the president of Lucasfilm herself. And she also revealed that she is not retiring, even though we just spent the whole entire stream for the last 2 streams talking about how she will be retiring and who will be her replacement. What all this means, what I think is really going down, we're going to dive into all of it. So, without further ado, sorry. How's everybody doing on this fine Saturday afternoon? We made it to the end of yet another week, which is an accomplishment within itself. But we got some crazy Star Wars news to talk about, as this week's headlines have been Kathleen Kennedy is stepping down. Kathleen Kennedy is retiring. Kathleen Kennedy will no longer be the president of Lucasfilm. But that has been revealed to be not true. Kathleen Kennedy herself has debunked these theories, at least that's what it looks like is happening. Her saying that she is not retiring does not mean that she won't be the president of Lucasfilm much longer, as she also revealed that she and Lucasfilm and Disney are ushering in the next president. So yes, Kathleen Kennedy is not retiring, but that doesn't mean that she won't be, or that doesn't mean that she's not stepping down as the president of Lucasfilm. So what all that means, we're going to talk about it right now. There's this huge interview with Deadline where Kathleen Kennedy answers all the questions about her retiring, about the next 7 Star Wars movies, and about the future of Star Wars content. So without further ado, let's say hi to everybody in the chat, shall we?
This is where the fun begins.
Okay. Picone, what is up? Star Wars Order, how we doing? Holly in the house. Brandon Baker, what is up? 50 Thunder, how we doing? Ian, what is up? Tafari Tano, how we doing? Natalie in the house. Jason, what is up? Mike, how we doing? Nathan, what is up? Darth Plagueis lives, how we doing? Justin in the house. If I missed you, you know the deal. Darth Raccoonar, what is up? WUV Grad, how we doing? King Shadow, what is up? If I missed you, you know the deal. Just yell at me in the chat. Let's give everybody a nice little
Hello there.
General Kenobi.
Okay, so let's start by going over what we've been talking about for the last 2 days. Kathleen Kennedy retiring, Kathleen Kennedy stepping down as the CEO of Lucasfilm. That still could be the case. Now, not the retirement portion of it, but she still could be stepping down as the CEO. Actually, in this interview, she does explain what the plan is. They're going to actually train somebody to take over her role. And she's not just going to retire and leave that person out to just handle it themselves. She's going to stick around to help them get into the groove and get into that role, which makes sense. I mean, it would be kind of a bad move if she just went, I'm out of here, bye, have fun with this fiery disaster that I'm leaving you with. No, that would be a bad deal. So she's doing the smart thing, and that is sticking around to help out the next person who's coming into that power, coming into the CEO position. But is she retiring? No. However, that doesn't mean that she's going to continue to be the president of Lucasfilm for the next coming years. I still think right now that she will be stepping down from the president of Lucasfilm this year, and they will usher in the next person, whether that's Dave Filoni, whether that's Jon Favreau, whether that's somebody else, Kevin Feige, or whoever. We don't know. But that could be announced at Star Wars Celebration. Now, with that being said, let's talk about this interview. I'm losing my voice already, chat, and I'm not happy about it. But this interview has sort of taken the internet by storm, if you will, because she has answered so many questions about upcoming Star Wars projects, upcoming movies, giving updates on Shawn Levy's movie, on the Simon Kinberg trilogy, on Taika Waititi's movie, on the Mandoverse itself. She's given answers to everything. 7, maybe even 8 Star Wars movies got massive updates by Kathleen Kennedy herself, by the president of Lucasfilm herself yesterday, and we got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. So, without further ado, let's dive into this article, shall we? Actually, let's put up a poll in the chat before we do. So, if you haven't smashed a freaking like on this stream yet, as long as it's not from Screen Rant, no, it is not from Screen Rant, as we, as we dealt with Screen Rant last stream. Yeah. So if you haven't smashed a freaking like on the stream, I don't know what you're waiting for. Please do so. But let's put up a poll in the chat right now. Do you think Kathleen Kennedy will step down, let's put it, as CEO of Luke. Oh my God, I can't type. Of Lucasfilm this year. By the end of this year, do you think Kathleen Kennedy will be stepped down as president and the next person will come into power and she will help them along the way? Not retire, but at least help them along the way. Tell me what you think. All right, now let's read this article. So this was the article from a week ago. So literally 1 week ago, we were talking about how Kathleen Kennedy is expected to retire by the end of this year. And now the newsline is Kathleen Kennedy speaks out on her Lucasfilm plans and she is not soon retiring. Interesting. The films that will keep her in the Star Wars orbit for the years to come, as she is already sort of producing a lot of these movies, as it says 7 in the title of this live stream. But let's take a look at this. Okay. Exclusive. I thought I'd seen it all in trade journalism. But the piranha-like frenzy on Kathleen Kennedy and the successor speculation that followed Matt Bellion's Puck report that Disney was putting her out to the pasture is a new one for me. Honestly, this is not a new one. We've talked about Kathleen Kennedy retiring for like a million times over the last 3-4 years. Like, this is not a new news article. Like, we've talked about Kathleen Kennedy stepping down, retiring, whatever you want to call it, many times before. This is just the latest one. And this is just the one that seems the most correct because her contract is up. And it makes sense that she would usher in the next person, like a Dave Filoni or a Jon Favreau, at this point. Now, I still think that's what's going to happen, but retirement is not the word that she is looking for, if you will. Bellion for years has been beating on Kathleen Kennedy like she owes him money. Funny. And this week, he reported that Kathleen Kennedy was retiring. I recall he essentially did the same thing more than a year ago. I remember that as well. And yet, here she still is. And she's talking to Deadline in this crazy article that gives so many crazy things away. The Mandalorian movie is prepped, and Shawn Levy's directed Star Wars film starring Ryan Gosling is circling, as they put it. She does go into how this is going to be the next Star Wars movie after the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, which kind of blew my mind. Shawn Levy's movie, we know the least about. Well, now we know that Ryan Gosling will be starring in it, but other than that, we don't know when it takes place in the Star Wars timeline. We don't know anything about it. We got the Dawn of the Jedi movie. We got the Rey movie. We got Simon Kinberg's trilogy even. We know more about those projects. This Shawn Levy movie came out of nowhere, and now it's going to be the next Star Wars movie. Okay. Still, the trades followed with gusto, dishing speculative reporting that who might succeed Kathleen Kennedy, which we talked about on Thursday's stream. Kevin Feige, Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, even random people like Ben Stiller, because Screen Rant makes a great article. But we had some crazy people. And with that, the takeaway was chaos. The Star Wars fandom ran wild. People were losing their minds trying to figure out who was going to replace Kathleen Kennedy. They were celebrating the fact that she was retiring because for some reason everybody hates the girl. But it was chaos, and Kathleen Kennedy was being pushed, as she puts it. The reality is far different and far more orderly, as she puts it, as she is not going anywhere, at least not retiring anytime soon, as she puts it. And let's read this. According to insiders, Kathleen Kennedy has been working on a succession plan for a couple of years. Obviously, she doesn't want to leave the next person just to deal with all this nonsense. She wants to usher in a successor that is prepared for this role. Much like she was by George Lucas. I mean, she had worked for Lucasfilm for decades before she ever became the president of the company. So for a couple of years, eyeing candidates from within in process with Bob Iger and Alan Bergman. That put somebody like Dave Filoni, who a lot of people really, really love, as the option, who knows the inside and out of the universe, in a strong position. I admire Bellion's hustle and ability to turn over hard ground, as he puts it, but his penchant for defining industry people like Kathleen Kennedy in disparaging ways, well, I don't quite understand that. trying to throw somebody under the bus like this is not really the best move. I don't appreciate it when Deadline founder Nikki Fink did it here. Interesting. And I feel like the appetite for, that word, is nowhere near as high now, given how this business is still trying to regain footing after the global pandemic, the long year labor strike, and most recently the devastating wildfires that ravaged South California. So what they're pretty much saying here is there's no room for just nonsense and lying to the media. But here's the deal. I really don't think that this report was fully 100% a lie. Now, was a lot of it not true? Yes, she's not retiring. However, she is still looking for a successor to Lucasfilm. They are still trying to train, for lack of a better word, somebody to be the next president, whether it's Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau or whomever. They are training the next person. And I think this year will be the final year of Kathleen Kennedy's reign as president. So do I think that much is true? Yes. But do I think that she's going to retire? I guess not, because she says she's not. Pretty simple as that. Kathleen Kennedy would seem an unlikely target at these for good times and bad, as she usually is. 13 years into her run steering Lucasfilm, she has done much with her with the challenge of trying to broaden George Lucas's Star Wars vision after Lucasfilm bought it from him for $4 billion in cash and stock in 2012. It's a challenge Amazon now will try with James Bond after purchasing creative control from 007's gatekeepers for $1 billion, beyond the $8 billion that they paid for MGM. So they paid $9 billion for James Bond. Is that what I'm reading here? $9 billion? That's crazy. Okay. Kathleen Kennedy arguably is the most successful female producer and executive in Hollywood history. I don't even know if it's an argument. I mean, you just look at the list that she's done. But she has produced on over 70 films that have collected 120 Oscar nominations with 25 wins. And she herself was awarded an honorary Oscar with the Irving G. Thalberg Memorial Award. I'm great at pronouncing names, Chad, don't you know? With 8 other Oscar nominations, her resume is dotted with classics, including Jurassic Park, The Sixth Sense, Indiana Jones, franchise, E.T., Munchie, sure, Lincoln, The Color Purple. Chat, I don't read English. The World of Wars, The War of Worlds, exactly. Schindler's List, Back to the Future franchise, and oh, guess what? Star Wars 2, chat. Star Wars 2. I guess I can't even say the word 2 correctly, chat. I don't know what's going on. Just need a nice sip of water, you know? Sigourney Weaver, okay? God. Guess I won't be watching James Bond films anymore. What? Why? Because Amazon bought them? Okay. Where was I? Oh, yeah. I think I left off on mispronouncing the word 2. Well, it has always been a challenge to please the Star Wars faithful. That's the understatement of the year. A challenge to please Star Wars fans? Oh, my God. But it's always been a challenge to please the Star Wars faithful. And there have been some misfires. The 5 Star Wars films that she has produced have grossed nearly $6 billion. $6 billion. With streaming series successes topped by The Mandalorian and Andor. I don't know if Andor was really a streaming success. It's one of the lowest viewed Star Wars shows to date, but The Mandalorian, definitely, for sure. Sorry, Matt. They're really bashing on this guy, Matt Bellion. I kind of feel bad for him, but not really, because he made a report that just wasn't true. The woman is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Nice. Not someone who deserves to be batted around like a piñata. Agreed. She also deserves to own her own narrative, which is pretty good too, as she's going to deny all these claims right here. Deadline gives Kathleen Kennedy that opportunity here, catching her just before she heads off to be honored tonight with her husband, Frank Marshall, which, by the way, was number one on the Screen Rant list the other day. Pretty wild. At the Oscars. Okay. So this is the interview. This is the interview that sort of shocked the Star Wars fandom for the last couple days here. So let's take a look. Deadline's first question is, you've read all the speculation reports that you are out. You are retiring. That there's a frenzy for the next person and who's going to take over Lucasfilm. What is the truth? The truth coming from the lady herself, the president herself. As she says this, the truth is, and I want to say it loud and clear, I am not retiring. Not. Key word here being not retiring. That'd be the key word. I will never retire from movies. I will die making movies. So here's why I think she's still definitely going to step down as president this year. When you throw in the word retirement, that means she's just going to stop making movies forever. And that's just not going to be the case. She'll step down as president, but she'll still stay around the company. She'll still make movies. She'll still probably be a producer on those movies. She just won't be the president. She won't be doing all the big business decisions anymore because she deserves to, quote unquote, retire even when not retiring. She deserves to retire from the role of president of Lucasfilm. She can still make movies. She can still produce on movies, but she doesn't have to be the president anymore because that's a lot of work. And if I were her, I'd not want to do it anymore. After 13 years of getting crap from the Star Wars fandom time and time again, I'd want to retire. I'd want to stop doing that job. Yes, you can still make movies, but I want to retire from the position of president of Lucasfilm. So what she's saying here is that she's never going to retire from making movies, which I think she's telling the truth. I think that's really what she's talking about here. But I don't think she'll be the president of Lucasfilm much longer. So keep that in mind. That is the first thing that's important to say. I am not retiring. What happens at Lucasfilm is that I've been talking for quite some time with both Bob Iger and Alan something about the eventual succession and what that might look like. We have an amazing bench of people here, of course, with a bunch of people we talked about on Thursday's live stream. And we have every intention to make an announcement months and or years, or a year, down the road. So she's saying that there will be an announcement at least months or a year down the road from when she's going to retire. A couple months from now is Star Wars Celebration. By the end of the year, her contract is up. So I still think she's retiring from the position of president of Lucasfilm. She's not retiring from making films ever. She's just retiring from this position at Lucasfilm. She's stepping down from being the president of Lucasfilm. Not the world. Of Lucasfilm. So, with that being said, she's sort of confirming that right here by talking about there'll be an announcement at least months or a year down the road where there'll be that succession, the successor to the throne of Lucasfilm. We are in lockstep as to what's going to. Wait, we are in lockstep as to what that's going to be. And I am continuing. I'm producing on the Mandalorian movie right now, and I'm also producing Shawn Levy's movie. This is sort of where the first big bit of news comes out, which is going to be after that. So she's confirming right now that Shawn Levy's movie will be the first movie after the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. So let's talk about it. Shawn Levy's movie, I feel, is of the announced movies, because we're talking about seven movies today. The Mandalorian and Grogu movie, Dawn of the Jedi, 3 movies for Simon Kinberg's trilogy, Shawn Levy's movie, and Taika Waititi's movie. I didn't even think of the Rey movie. Hang on. I got to change the title of this stream. Hang on, chat. It's 8 movies. It's 8 movies, chat. Hang on. I got to change the title of the live stream. The next 8 movies. Sorry. That's on me. Let me fix that. And there we go. The next 8 movies. All right. So Shawn Levy's movie is going to be next. That's a big shock. To me, at least, that's a huge shock. You have the announcement of the Rey movie and the Dawn of the Jedi movie and Dave Filoni's Mando movie 2 years ago. 2 years ago. And now this Shawn Levy movie that popped up out of nowhere is going to be the next movie to get put out after the Mandalorian and Grogu movie? It's a little strange. It's a little strange. However, we do get a little bit of more information about what that movie looks like, possibly starring Ryan Gosling, and when it takes place in the Star Wars timeline. Let's keep going. So, she's producing on Shawn Levy's movie, which is after that. So, I'm continuing to stay with Lucasfilm and looking very thoughtfully, yes, with Bob and Alan as to who is stepping in next, who will be the successor. So, that is all underway, and we have every right to make that announcement when we want to make it. And I think she wants to make it at Star Wars Celebration. Where is a better place to make that announcement than Star Wars Celebration? You can celebrate Kathleen Kennedy. You can celebrate the successor, whoever it may be. And it'll be a big celebration. 13 years of Kathleen Kennedy Star Wars brought you incredible projects like Rogue One and Andor and The Mandalorian and Ahsoka and Rebels and Bad Batch and whatever you want to do. Celebrate. Celebrate all day long. So she's talking about they want to make the announcement when they want to do it, not when some guy online wants to do it for them. Yeah. Okay, but we go on to talk about this a little bit because Dave Filoni, by name, is brought up. Yeah. Deadline asks, now that you are looking within, seems to give credence to what we've heard online, that exec like Chief Creative Officer Dave Filoni is in a good position as he works on Star Wars to write and direct. So they're asking, is Dave Filoni going to be the next guy in line? Kennedy says this, I can't say who it is because there's just an internal process that goes on inside a large corporation and a publicly held company as to how they're going to make this make deals, finalizing decisions and making announcements. There's nothing unusual about that. We are just in that process. So they're in the process of getting the successor. They are in the process of taking Kathleen Kennedy out of the role of president and bringing in the next person. But they can't speak publicly about it because obviously they're a publicly traded company and all that other stuff, and they want to make a big whole deal about it like they should at Star Wars Celebration. Okay, so the next question becomes, this flurry of press coverage, it sounds like chaos. What is the reality? So here's the reality. Chaos? There has never been any chaos because we know exactly what the plan is. This has always been a concern with Star Wars fans when it comes to Disney Star Wars, is the lack of planning. The sequel trilogy seemed to be the big sore thumb in the lack of planning place, I guess, where you had a trilogy that was made up of two different directors, J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson, who almost had two different envisions for the entire trilogy. And it was pieced together one movie at a time, and the story wasn't really there from the beginning. However, since 2019, since they had that whole thing with the sequel trilogy, everything since then has been very well thought out and very planned. You look at from the books and comics, like the Vader comics, the War of the Bounty Hunter stuff, even the High Republic stuff, but even the shows and movies as well. We're talking about 8 planned movies coming in the semi-near future. 8. And they're really taking their time with a bunch of them because they want to get it right. And you look at the TV shows. They've been planning this whole Mandoverse for quite some time. After the Mandalorian Season 1 success, they really planned that out. Getting the Ahsoka series to bring in Grand Admiral Thrawn, tying into the Project Necromancer, giving us all that Heir to the Empire stuff. It's been planned out. You got Andor Season 1, Andor Season 2, that's been planned out. You got all this stuff. The Bad Batch is directly connected to the Mandoverse. Like, it's all being connected now. It's all been planned out. But I think that was sort of a big tonal shift after the sequel trilogy was not planned out. Everything since then, they've almost learned their lesson, has been very well planned out. Yeah. Okay. We've been talking about it, as I said, nonstop over the last couple of years because of the obvious reasons. I'm not going to be here forever, as she puts it. George asked me 13 years ago to step in, and now I'm looking for who's going to replace me. There you have it. And as I said, we have a bench of people internally to handle the business. So this pretty much throws out anybody from the outside that is likely to get the job, like we were talking about on Thursday's live stream, it's probably going to be an inside hire, likely a Dave Filoni or a Jon Favreau. But yeah, the creative side, the job has grown also since I stepped in. There was no streaming when she got the job, and there weren't a lot of things that weren't involved right now or going on right now. So it has grown quite a bit. So the job of president is no longer just make a trilogy. Like when George Lucas had the company, it was make a trilogy. Then he made the Clone Wars, obviously. But the job now is far more difficult. You look at all the projects that are coming out every single year. You had 3 years in between projects before when it came to Star Wars. Now you have to sort of spread yourself very thin to control all this stuff. So it takes a lot more people. That's why Dave Filoni is at the chief creative officer stage, because he can oversee all the creative decisions. Yeah. And that's why, honestly, I think a co-president would work. Just like with DC. It would work a lot better, actually, because you'd have one side of the presidency holding the creative side of things, and then the other one holding the business side. It makes a lot more sense, in my personal opinion. Lee, what's up? Anthony says, it's worth noting a lot has been planned out separately through compartmentalizing. That's easy for me to say. Kathleen Kennedy greenlit a dozen projects that went nowhere. No real lasting plans by her. But you have to remember all those projects, or a lot of those projects that were announced in that phase where they weren't planning things. In that 2020 or 2015 to 2020-ish range. You know? Yeah. Star Wars is not the only IP that announces a lot of things that don't happen. Oh, absolutely. I mean, Marvel does the same thing. We're looking at it a lot now. DC's done it a million times because they can't get their shit together. Yeah, I mean, they do it all the time. Yeah. Jane says that's the main reason George bounced. Times were changing. I don't know about that. George, I think, wanted to retire. He wanted to do what he wanted to do. And he saw it like, if I was going to make a sequel trilogy, it would be the next decade of my life, and I would be 80. And I don't want to do that. Yeah. Okay. So the next question she's asked is, how far down the road do you expect before the changes get made? And then will you go off and produce these two big Star Wars things? So her answer is this. We'll probably make an announcement months or a year out from when she's going to retire. And I have every intention to stick around and help that person be successful. I'm already producing the Mandalorian and Grogu movie and Shawn Levy's after that. So pretty much what she's saying here, because we have these 8 movies we're talking about now, is that she is producing on at least the next 2. But after that, she has no idea. So the announcement will be at least months or a year out. If it happens at Star Wars Celebration, then she's gone by the end of the year. She helps bring in the next person, but she's not going to be the president by the end of the year. So she'll be a producer, an executive producer on the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, because it happened during her time here. The Shawn Levy movie will start filming this year, so she'll be an executive producer on that as well. But the next 6 movies that we're going to be talking about today might not be under her reign. The Simon Kinberg trilogy, the Rey movie, the Dawn of the Jedi movie, those movies, the Taika Waititi movie, might not be under the Kathleen Kennedy reign at Lucasfilm. Yeah. Okay. Deadline then asks, I recall these same retirement predictions were rendered a while ago. Yeah, this was a couple years ago, I think. And you re-upped since then, and here we are. What do you make of this fixation on your job status? Pretty interesting. Coming from the president herself, she says this. I truly don't know. And any decisions previous about me retiring or quitting or anything like that, it's completely rumor mill, because though through all those reports, I have just continued to do my job and continued my contract. Nothing unusual. It's all just been manufactured. So all these reports she's pretty much saying are just a whole lot of hoopla. They don't exist. Never happened. Yeah. Okay. So Well, here's the thing. Hold up. They get into Kevin Feige in a second here, and I'm very interested to see what you guys think of this. The connotation is you're being pushed aside in need of being replaced, though that's not what I've heard, Kathleen Kennedy has asked. As she says, that is absolutely not the case. Throwing that completely out the window. It could not be further from the truth, and everything that goes on inside of Lucasfilm is in lockstep. Now, the second time she said that, and in communication with Disney at all times. And we know what's going on. The communication has been completely collaborative, as you would expect, because Disney is the company that owns Lucasfilm. This is a big piece of business from them. Clearly, we talked about this last stream, but I think Star Wars, Lucasfilm in general, has to be the biggest IP that Disney owns. Marvel's, of course, huge and has been for the last decade, but Star Wars has been for the last 50 years. And there's almost nothing that Disney owns that comes anywhere close to that. But having said that, this is a big piece of business for Disney. And they want to empower me to help them make the decisions in that choice, in that choice. And I'm doing that. So the choice of course, being pushed aside. So here's where the whole Kevin Feige thing comes in. I'm placing some blame on Marvel's Kevin Feige because he had that magnificent streak of superhero hits and set an impossibly high bar. The MCU from 2008 to 2019 may never be touched again as it was such an incredible run. However, but he's now starting to take a scrapnel? Sure. How daunting is it running a company based on a beloved iconic IP? Because fans are very, very passionate about it. What has been the most challenging thing about running Lucasfilm when fans of the original trilogy measure everything against it and don't see the business needs of broadening the franchise when Disney paid so much for it? It's like Amazon MGM now. They're going to expand the James Bond universe when so many fans love their different variations of James Bond. It's a little bit different here because James Bond has been recast and done over and over and over again. Star Wars, it's a continuation. It's not a recast. It's not a redo. It's a continuation. So it's a little bit more difficult, I guess. Because like they said here, everybody looks back at the original trilogy and measures everything up against it. And that's a hard bar to even reach. And it's a hard bar for George Lucas himself to even reach with the prequel trilogy. A lot of fans thinking that it was nowhere close to as good as this original trilogy, but I completely disagree with that. And it's really funny to me is whenever Star Wars, Disney Star Wars, let's put it, takes a risk. Whenever Disney Star Wars tries to do something sort of out of the norm, let's say, in the Star Wars universe, fans absolutely hate it, saying this is not Star Wars, this is not that, blah, 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 blah. That's the exact same thing that George Lucas did with the prequel trilogy. He didn't want to recreate the original trilogy. He didn't. And actually, when Lucasfilm tried to do that, when they tried to almost recreate A New Hope with The Force Awakens, fans didn't like that. Well, I mean, they did for a minute until they realized what it was, and then they didn't like it because they didn't want the same thing over again. So really, they don't want the same thing over again, but they also don't want anything different. It's hard people to please. We're talking about very, very hard people to please. But having said that, her reaction is this. Her response, I should say. Kennedy says this. It is something I think about all the time. It's fascinating to think of how you sustain a brand, especially Star Wars, which it's just about celebrating its 50th anniversary in a couple of years here. So to analyze and understand what was inspiring George Lucas when he created Star Wars, when he was still looking at Saturday matinees like Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon, and those are things of the past, and politically, what he was reflecting on in his stories. Like he's talked about time and time again, all the different rebellion versus empire type deal, like the Americans versus the empire of British and all that stuff. Because Star Wars has always had that kind of world building, and it reflects a certain amount of our society. Obviously teaching people lessons about what not to do and what to do, but giving us examples from our own history to an extent. The world, needless to say, is changing by the second. And consequently, the audience is changing dramatically as well. How they consume things. A lot of people don't even go to the movie theaters anymore. They really don't at all, which is pretty wild. So streaming has really taken over. So how fans consume things changes how you have to create content. We are seeing this reflect in the health of the movie business, as I said before, and what it really means for streaming and what all these platforms that may be on the horizon. We are trying to look forward, but at the same time, we are trying to create stories that feel familiar. So looking forward to the future, trying to do different things while also making them familiar so fans can identify it as Star Wars. So you're moving into the future, but you're maintaining a sense of familiarity. I think that's the hardest balance to do, and it really, really is. And when you have a brand that's this expansive, like the Star Wars universe, you're also, and this is something that we've been working really hard at, you're trying to find the different entry points from different generations, because that's what Star Wars has always been. It's a very generational brand, and we want to sustain that, and we work hard to sustain that. So he's talking about different generational entrance points for the Star Wars universe, much like the original trilogy, and all the older fans really love the original trilogy, see it as their favorite trilogy, and then all the prequel fans, all the prequel trilogy fans see that as their trilogy, see that as their Star Wars. It's a generational thing, because some fans probably growing up right now see the sequels as the first movies that they ever saw in the Star Wars universe and their Star Wars, or even The Mandalorian, or even any of these shows, the Clone Wars. A lot of fans grew up on the Clone Wars in the gap in between the prequels and the original and the sequel trilogy. So it's a very generational based thing, because Star Wars fans who get introduced to Star Wars in a specific project find that project to be either their favorite or what draws them to the franchise, what draws them to the galaxy far, far away. Usually, whatever you watched first or whatever you connected to the most, it sticks with you for a long, long time. And that's a pretty important piece to the puzzle. But so George gave us the gift of storytelling, being across a lot of different genres. And that gives us a lot of opportunities to try different things. And when you look at what they've done with streaming, they've been trying a lot of different things. You have shows like Ahsoka, like The Acolyte, like Kenobi that are very based off of the Force and Jedi and lightsabers. Then you have shows like The Mandalorian or even Andor. There's not a lightsaber to be seen in Andor. So you have shows that don't even rely on the Force or Jedi or anything like that to exist. Now, The Mandalorian does eventually get the Darksaber, does eventually get Luke Skywalker and all that, but still, at the end of the day, he's a bounty hunter. He's a gunslinger. And so, I guess, is Cassian Andor. Not really a bounty hunter, but a gunslinger, kind of. But even still, they have all these different avenues that they can go down to create Star Wars projects, which is pretty cool. Clone Wars was great, but Rebels is better. I agree with that statement. I agree with this. Okay, sorry. Yeah. Where was I? Oh, different genres, yes. What we've really enjoyed about the streaming space is that we've been able to experiment. It's harder to do that in the movie space, because if you experiment and it goes wrong, you lose billions or millions upon millions of dollars. However, when you have a show like Skeleton Crew, which costs maybe $100 and whatever million to make, 130, whatever it is. And even though not a lot of people watched it, the fans who did absolutely loved it. And again, Skeleton Crew, it does have the Force, it does have lightsabers, but it's not like Ahsoka. It's not like The Acolyte. It's very much its own sort of piratey adventure with a bunch of kids and all that stuff. Yeah. So you can experiment a lot on that place. And now I think that's why we feel good about being able to move The Mandalorian into the movie theaters, as we are coming off of 3 seasons of a very successful show. So almost what she's talking about here is they are using Disney Plus as a platform to test things out, and whatever works, whatever's a success, they're going to transfer over to the movie theaters. That's pretty smart, because The Mandalorian could have been a bomb, could have flopped miserably, and they'd be down a couple $1 million, maybe $100 million, and that would be the end of it. Instead of risking it all on $400, $500 million to market a movie, to produce a movie, to create a movie, and then it's just bombing the movie theaters. So you're talking about taking risks on Disney Plus, and then taking those guaranteed successes that we've talked about so much over the last couple of weeks, taking those guaranteed successes and moving them to the movie theaters. So that is why we are seeing the Mandalorian and Grogu movie be the first Star Wars movie back into the theaters in 7 years, because it's a guaranteed success, as they put it. But let's keep going. So that's why the Mandalorian and Grogu movie is going to the big screen. Okay. We are actually building an audience for that. And we gave the younger audience an opportunity to enter Star Wars at a different place and not feel like you have to have seen everything. Because now at this point, with Star Wars being as big as it is, to watch everything would take you weeks. If you sat down and watched it all in a row, it would take you weeks. So that's not really an easy task to accomplish. So if you've seen the Mandalorian show on Disney Plus, then you know Grogu. Everybody knows Grogu. Look down. He's on your shirt right now. It's just in Djarin today. But he's everywhere. He's right there. Right there. So with that, they have a guaranteed success, and they're bringing it to the movie theaters. Okay. So the next question asked is, you've got a long resume of big movies. Compared to that, how much tougher is the challenge of so much public scrutiny and the second guessing by the rabid fan base that is Star Wars? It's not uncommon to develop a project with big names who fall out when visions don't align. And this is, of course, the losing directors and losing writers all the time. But they get reported as big implosions. So losing these big writers, losing these big directors have always become bad news for Lucasfilm. Oh, we got a super chat? Hang on, sorry. Hang on, we got a super chat. Darth Plagueis Lives with a very generous $5 holla. I appreciate that, Darth Plagueis Lives. Says, this is where the fun begins. Nice. Hang on.
This is where the fun begins.
Star Wars is going to be have an insane decade ahead. Much love. Thanks, Darth Plagueis. I appreciate that. Super chats, memberships keep the lights on over here, so I appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, if all these 8 movies really do come to fruition, which it seems very likely, at least 6 or 7 of them, but if they do, you're talking about at least a decade of Star Wars movies. And that's pretty crazy. Yeah. Okay, but going back to what I was just talking about, since I was so rudely interrupted. Yeah, no, just kidding. Much love. I appreciate it, Darth Plagueis. I really, really do. So when they talk about this, when they talk about all these massive reports of the Rey movie has lost another writer, or Dan and Dave, for example, from Game of Thrones, are leaving Star Wars, or Kevin Feige's movie is canceled, all these bad news headlines. It happens all the time. But it gets completely blown out of proportion because it's a news article that is negative about Star Wars. So her response to that is, what you just said, though, is so interesting to me. Mike, what? She's talking to me? What is going on here? Kathleen, are you watching? Kathleen, is that you? I don't know what to... chat? Is she behind me right now? Okay. Oh, wow. Another super chat. Hang on, chat. Oh, my God. Darth Drafter with a $20 holla. Holy crap. $20 is absolutely insane. I appreciate that. Darth Drafter says, haven't caught a live stream in a while, but watch the replays. Appreciate you. Well, Darth Drafter, I appreciate that quite a bit. Okay. I get, because obviously a lot of you guys can't watch the live streams live. You watch them on the playback. And those playback people, I appreciate you, okay? Don't ever forget that. Even though you can't make a live stream, maybe it's me, maybe it's you, I don't know. But I appreciate you. And Darth Drafter, that is insanely generous. $20 is absolutely insane. I appreciate it. But can we get back to the fact that Kathleen Kennedy is speaking directly to me? Like, what's going on here, chat? What's going on? but I appreciate it, Dr. Drafter. Okay. So, what you just said, though, is very interesting, Mike. This just got really weird, Chad, because that is the development. It doesn't matter if you're doing Star Wars or anything else. What's troubling and frustrating is that our development gets scrutinized beyond belief. And I don't think any other production company where the development gets scrutinized, there is any other development production company where they get scrutinized that like this. And I completely agree with her. You look at Star Wars, and because Star Wars is the best franchise out there, period, end of sentence, because it's the best, it gets the most scrutiny. It gets the most eyeballs and the most people to sort of crap on the bad news and love the good news. We got a very, very strong, opinionated fandom here. People love this so much that they really have strong opinions. And when something bad happens, it really affects them emotionally. And when good stuff happens, the same thing. You see all the Star Wars fans crying when Luke Skywalker shows up when he in the Mandalorian season 2 because it means so much to them. It means so much to us, I should say. But it's the same way, the same thing, the opposite direction. It's the same story the other way around. When something bad happens, it's really, really bad. So, like she says here, no other production company gets this sort of scrutiny. And she's not wrong, but that's because Star Wars is the biggest. That's because Star Wars is the best. That's because Star Wars is the top of the top. It's the king on the hill. It's the best of the best. So it is very hard for anybody, for anything to happen within Star Wars without some aspect of it becoming public before you even want it to or want it to become public. So I guess managing the message in some ways is also quite a challenge because, of course, not every single thing that we put into development we are going to make. That's not unusual. This happens with every other company. However, when it comes to Star Wars, it gets the most eyeballs on it. So more people are very upset about it, especially when you bring on a creator like Dan and Dave or like Kevin Feige or whoever to make a project, and then they have to leave. Fans get excited about the idea of seeing one of those people create a Star Wars project, and then that idea is gone. And that hurts. It's not unusual, though. We want to make those things that we feel are, we want to make the things that we feel are the best. We want to make all those things, as time passes, feel relevant to what the audience is responding to. So there's constant decisions around that. So yeah, it is tricky, but because of all the scrutiny around Star Wars, and the negativity has been about development. Of course, the Star Wars fandom has sort of, in recent years, thrived, for lack of a better word, off of negativity. There's a lot of people in the Star Wars community, and on YouTube specifically, that make a lot of money off of crapping on Star Wars. Because again, Star Wars is this massive Star Wars fandom, and there's a lot of money to be made. Not going to sit here and lie to you. Darth Drafter just sent me $20. I sit here and talk about Star Wars. I make money off this, off of Star Wars. It's not like I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys. I think I take a more positive approach. I'd like to think, at least. But there's a lot of people that make a lot more than me that only focus on the negative things because it makes more money. It gets more clicks. Negativity sells. So when you have a massive fandom like Star Wars, the negativity that sells is going to sell even more because more people are talking about it because it's a big headline when something bad happens. And that's pretty hard to navigate around. Yeah, let's say. Okay. Of course, we are going to develop lots of different things with the understanding that not everything will be made. So I think people have to sort of have that open-mindedness to understand that not everything is going to be made. Yeah. Okay. So now we got to start to talk about Simon Kinberg's trilogy. So we talked about Shawn Levy and how his movie's going to be next. And we do have some more information about that, which we'll get to in a little bit. And we talked about the Mandalorian and Grogu movie too. So we're 2 into our 8. Now we're going to talk about the next 3, which puts us to 5, and that is Simon Kinberg's trilogy. This was announced, I think, in November of last year or something like that. It was right before Skeleton Crew, I believe. But Simon Kinberg is coming back to Star Wars. Yes, that is right. Back to Star Wars to create a trilogy and what that looks like. Are we going to talk about Andor? Yes, we will talk about Andor Season 2 sort of towards the end of the stream. Yeah. But Kathleen Kennedy's the question was, I broke a piece last fall about Simon Kinberg making a deal to write and produce a Star Wars trilogy. How is that going? Great question. Kathleen Kennedy's response is, we are absolutely rolling fast and furiously with this. Fast and Furious. So Fast and Furious, what are they on? 10, 11, 12? What Fast and Furious movie are they on now, chat? Like 30? Is it 10? Have they already passed Fast and Furious 10? 11 maybe? 12? I have no idea. What Fast and Furious are they on by now, chat? It's all about family. Yeah. 10 was the last one? Okay. So Fast and Furious episode 11, 12, and 13 will be a crossover event between the Star Wars universe and the Fast and Furious universe, and they will collide. So the beginning of the movie of Fast and Furious 11 will be like time travel because they have to go a long time ago. And then they'll have to travel to a galaxy far, far away in the second movie. And then Fast and Furious 13 will be a complete crossover event with Simon Kinberg at the helm of Darth Vader versus, what's his name in the movie? Vin Diesel. I don't know his name in the movie. What's his name? Whatever. Vin Diesel versus Darth Vader in this epic showdown about family. And of course, Vin Diesel wins because he's got his family with him and Vader doesn't. So, yeah. That's pretty much what we're talking about here. Does that not sound incredible? Oh, we got another super chat. Oh my God. What the hell? 50 Thunder with a very generous $10 holla. Why did it come up twice? I don't know. I think it's broken. Whatever. But I appreciate it. $10 holla says, hey, Mike. Hey, chat. Just a quick hello there. Joining the channel is the best thing I've ever done this year. Wow. Thank you, 50 Thunder. That's very, very nice of you to say. Thanks for keeping on the excitement in Star Wars real. And also, hi, Samantha. Samantha is not here, sadly, today. But thank you for that. I appreciate that. Oh, say hi to yourselves, chat. You're on screen. I did not mean to do that. I don't know why there's two of those up there, 50 Thunder, but there is. So say hi to yourselves, chat. This will not be here long. But, so, yeah. So the next 3 Star Wars movies will be crossover events with the Fast and the Furious. There you have it. Okay. So, in all seriousness, though, this is actually pretty wild. And I appreciate the $10 haul of 50 Thunder. I really, really do. Yeah. Yeah. Say hi to yourselves, chat. This is you. See yourself? Say hi to yourself. Yeah, say hi. Say hi, chat. Okay. Say bye, because it's going away. Okay. So, they're absolutely rolling Fast and Furious with the Simon Kinberg trilogy. That has gone unexpectedly well. Interesting. And he's literally going to scripts as we speak. So the idea phase is over for Simon Kinberg's trilogy. They already have the idea for a trilogy. And he's going to start writing scripts now. That's pretty wild. Because we talked about it, the Mandalorian and Grogu movie is, of course, coming out next year. Shawn Levy's movie is after that. So is this Simon Kinberg trilogy going to begin after that? When does the Rey movie come into this? When does the Dawn of the Jedi movie come into this? What's really cool, though, is that this went unexpectedly well, as she says it, and they are already going into scripts now. The idea phase is over. The trilogy, the next Star Wars trilogy, is ready to go. Not ready to go, but ready to go into scripting, at least. The idea phase is over. As she says, we'll see something probably around June in terms of a script. Simon, if you remember, he did some work with us years ago on an animated show. And that animated show is, of course, called Star Wars Rebels, which was really wonderful. Which was a really wonderful collaboration experience. Sorry. And he then got very, very busy with X-Men and then recently became available again. So that's sort of how it works in Hollywood. people become available and unavailable very, very quickly. So he becomes unavailable because of all the X-Men work, and then he becomes available again. So they're like, oh, let's get this guy because he's already worked on Star Wars, and he already gave us one of the greatest series of all time. So we're really excited to be working where that's going to be headed. So Simon Kinberg comes on to Star Wars in about 2013-14, makes one of the greatest shows of all time in Star Wars Rebels with Dave Filoni. Leaves to go work on the X-Men some more, and now he's coming back to make a trilogy. Fantastic. Incredible. And it's going so fast and furiously and unexpectedly well that they are already in the scripting phase. Fantastic. Okay. But moving on, there are spin-offs, and then there's a core Star Wars story broken into trilogies. Is this a continuation of that? So the question pretty much is this trilogy of Simon Kinberg's a continuation of the core Star Wars story, like the Skywalker saga, if you will? And Kathleen Kennedy says this is the next iteration, the new saga that moves us into the future. So a couple things going on here. One, it's the new saga, so it's no longer the Skywalker saga, but it moves us into the future. Is she talking about the future in the real world, like moves us past the Skywalker saga just in the terms of we're going to the next? Or does she mean in the future of the Star Wars galaxy, post-sequel trilogy? We really don't know when this Simon Kinberg trilogy is going to take place. If it's a post-sequel story, if it's a Old Republic story, if it's whatever. But tell me in the chat, where do you want this trilogy to take place? It seems like from what she's saying here, it moves us into the future. So maybe the future of the Star Wars universe and probably post-sequels. But where do you want the next trilogy for Star Wars to take place in the Star Wars timeline? What do we think, Chad? And while you tell me, let's keep going. Deadline says, in the one by Deadpool and Wolverine director Shawn Levy, ? When does this take place? So this is when we get a lot of information about the Shawn Levy movie, which, by the way, is going to be the next one after the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. If you missed that. Revan. I know, everybody wants Revan. Old Republic would be great. I know, I get it. I don't know about the Old Republic anytime soon, though. I mean, maybe within the next 5 years, but within the next couple, I doubt it. Okay, so Shawn Levy's movie, let's talk about it. That's also in the future. It's all post the first 9. So the Simon Kinberg movie, the Shawn Levy movie, the Rey movie are all post episode 9. 5 Star Wars films post episode 9. That's wild. Especially when you think of how divisive the sequel trilogy was. Insane. Shawn's is a standalone Star Wars story. Interesting. That takes place post 9, maybe 5 or 6 years out. So let's not forget, the Rey movie is 15 years after the events of the sequel trilogy. 15 years. This is 5 or 6. So this is in between the Rey movie and the sequel trilogy movie. What the hell is this going to be about? Well, let's keep going. The Mandalorian really stands on its own because they're dealing with the whole other era in the New Republic. Sorry. We have other departments going on in the space as well. And that's the space where we were pretty much focusing on that's the space, we were focusing on right in this moment. So she's talking about how the focus right now for Star Wars is the Mandoverse, is the Mando time period. The post-original trilogy, pre-sequel trilogy, that's the place that they are focusing on. And that's actually really important because we got Star Wars Celebration coming up next month where they're going to announce a lot of projects. And I'm guessing a lot of those projects will be Mandoverse because she just said here they are focusing on that moment, the New Republic era. So could that be a Luke Skywalker Jedi Temple show? Maybe. Could that be a season 2 of Skeleton Crew, a season 2 of Book of Boba Fett, season 3 of Ahsoka? I don't know. But she does say that they are focusing right now pretty much only on the Mandoverse. Will there be other projects in other places? Yes. But the majority of their focus is the Mandoverse. Pretty interesting. Because obviously the Mandalorian, we had a pretty good sense of where that was going. And with this, it's pretty much new characters. So with Shawn Levy's movie, it's new characters. We may bring in some characters back from the sequel saga, but pretty much new characters. So this is all the information we have about the Shawn Levy movie, okay? It's 5 or 6 years after the sequel trilogy, and it's going to be new characters. What? The Rey movie is going to be Rey recreating the Jedi Order, recreating what's coming for the future of the Jedi Order. It'll likely show us Poe Dameron and Finn, and hopefully Poe and what he's doing with the sort of, I guess, government side of the galaxy, what Coruscant looks like, what all that stuff looks like. Is it the New Republic, whatever? What the hell is this Shawn Levy movie going to be? New characters? With maybe a few sequel characters? Maybe. Clearly there's an idea that's good enough to be the next Star Wars movie after the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Is it going to be a movie about Grogu? I doubt it. New characters. Could it be introducing a new villain? Could it be introducing a new hero for the next trilogy? I don't know. But it's really, really weird. The fact that they are greenlighting it so quickly to be the next movie after The Mandalorian is insane. Ryan Skywalker, oh my God. I don't know, chat. What do we think? Are we excited for a Shawn Levy Star Wars movie that takes place 5 years, 6 years after the sequel trilogy? And the fact that it's going to be the next Star Wars movie after The Mandalorian and Grogu? What do we think? I welcome it, but I'm not yet excited. Interesting. I'm excited for everything Star Wars. Okay, valid. No, but it can excite me. It just hasn't yet. Okay, interesting. Well, I bet, because it's going to be the next Star Wars movie to be put into production after the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, at Star Wars Celebration in a month, we will get some massive announcement announcing this movie, first of all, and its existence, bringing out Shawn Levy onto the stage at Star Wars Celebration, maybe even bringing out Ryan Gosling on the stage, and introducing the next Star Wars movie, the next Star Wars story. That's pretty wild. So not only at Star Wars Celebration are we going to get live action shows and animated shows announced, but now we're talking full-on movies. Not updates on the Mando movie, not a teaser trailer for the Mando movie, not an update for Dave Filoni's movie, not an update for the Rey movie, not updates for movies. We're talking about newly announced Star Wars movies. Shawn Levy, Ryan Gosling being brought onto stage, announcing a title for a new Star Wars film set 5 years after the sequel trilogy with brand new characters. It must be a pretty damn good idea. Shawn Levy, it's like strike the iron while it's hot, just came off of a $1 billion Deadpool movie, and he's sort of a hot director in Hollywood right now. I get giving him a Star Wars movie, but the time period is strange. Giving him new characters in that time period is very strange. The whole thing is very strange. So the idea must be spectacular, because it's a very, very weird concept. And to have it be your next Star Wars movie after the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, there has to be some sort of plan there. But she goes on. The next question is, how many development type projects do you have percolating, that you feel confident that will turn into something down the line? Okay, so here we go. Kennedy says, it's safe to say, I'd say 3 or 4 right now at the moment. And a large part of that, Mike, again speaking directly to me, is who is the talent we are attracting. That's pretty interesting. There's a and that's a challenge in in and of itself these days because people get really busy. So you find yourself having to wait with a lot of top talent doing streaming and movies right now. So all these people are staying busy. They don't really have time to do Star Wars, so to speak, until they're free. So trying to find the top talent, trying to find the top writers and directors and actors in general, well, they're all busy. They're juggling schedules, as it were. And when you do Star Wars, you pretty much have to step into it and not have any other competing work going on. So you really have to focus wholly on Star Wars and Star Wars only. It's a good 2 or 3 year minimum commitment, and that's tough to get top talent to be able to carve out that kind of time. And it's part of the challenge as well. So getting sort of all the people, the high-end people in Hollywood, to cut out 2 years of their time to work on Star Wars, that's very difficult to do, especially for a director or a actor, for that matter. So then we get to talk about James Mangold. Okay, so Deadline says, let's talk about the prequel, of James Mangold. So if you don't know this, and by the way, he's Oscar nominated for Bob Dylan, a complete unknown. So James Mangold was announced 2 years ago to be directing and writing a Dawn of the Jedi movie. Dawn of the Jedi, 25,000 years before everything else. Give us the first ever Jedi, first ever Force users, all that fun stuff. But Kathleen Kennedy said, yep, he's working on a script right now. Simon's Kinberg, that is, working on scripts right now. Shawn Levy, we had been working on him already for about a year and a half. Think about that. They've been working with Shawn Levy for a year and a half, and we didn't know about it till a couple months ago. That's pretty wild. These guys are available now. James Mangold, Shawn Levy, Simon Kinberg, they're available now. Jim got delayed. James Mangold, that is. Jim got delayed by a bit with his Dylan movie in the awards season. You have to accommodate top talent to a certain extent. The quality is so important with what they are trying to do. So I like to wait for people and think are passionate and really good to step into Star Wars. So it's about being patient with the top talent. It's about being able to wait and afford to wait because you want these people to come into Star Wars. And that makes sense. And I think that's the same reason why they're not rushing on any of these projects. Shawn Levy's ready to go, and he's ready to go now. So that's going to be the next project to go into production. After that, James Mangold will be ready to go. Simon Kinberg is ready to go right now, so he's writing scripts for a new trilogy. So, Deadline then asks, have I forgotten any others? And Kathleen Kennedy actually brings up Taika Waititi, which is pretty interesting, because we haven't heard the name Taika in Star Wars in quite some time. Because this movie was announced, 6 years ago now? 5 years ago? A long time ago. Taika was announced to get a Star Wars movie, and Deadline doesn't even bring it up. Kathleen Kennedy does. Interesting. So, she says this. Well, I keep waiting for Taika Waititi. He's working on with another writer right now. He is very busy. I love him, and I think if we ever get a script from Taika, it's going to be fantastic. I already saw the first act, and I loved it. But tying him down, it's tricky. That's pretty wild. So she's already seen a first act of a script from Taika in terms of a Star Wars movie. But he hasn't been able to finish it because he's been so busy. Another issue. Issues that Star Wars fans are going to latch onto and sort of take as a negative news article, I guess. But this seems to be sort of par for the course. Taika's a busy guy. And maybe sometime when he gets enough free time of 2 or 3 or 4 years to work on Star Wars, then he will. But that's a hard thing to accomplish. So, Taika Waititi's movie technically is still in active development. It's just a very slow process. The first act having been done and at least read by Kathleen Kennedy, and she loved it. Yeah. So, let's do a sort of a count right now. Shawn Levy movie. Mandalorian movie. Dave Filoni's Mando movie. Simon Kinberg's trilogy, 1, 2, 3. James Mangold's movie. Taika Waititi's movie. And the Rey movie. Did I count this wrong? Are we at 9 right now, chat? Do I have to change the title of this stream again? Hang on. Mando movie. Dave Filoni's Mando movie. So the Mandalorian and Grogu and Dave Filoni's Mando movie. James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi movie. The Rey movie. Shawn Levy's movie. Simon Kinberg's trilogy. And Taika Waititi's movie. I'm at 9. Am I miscalculating here, chat? I'm at 9. Did I miss something? Don't forget Rogue Squadron, that's 10. Well, Rogue Squadron doesn't really get an announcement here, I don't think. Let's see. No, Rogue Squadron doesn't get any sort of announcement here. Yeah. But I think we're at 9. Do I have to change the title again? 9 movies? Patty Jenkins is still doing stuff for the movie? Okay, maybe we have to change it to 10 movies then. Okay, I'm going to go to 9 movies. We'll leave it at 9 for now, and then we'll maybe change it to 10 later. So, next, 9 Star Wars movies. Kathleen Kennedy reveals, and she's not retiring. Okay. Getting back to the article then. I think it's 9, yeah. Until we get sort of another update on Rogue Squadron, I don't really know what's going on with it. So, okay. So Taika has written a first act for a Star Wars movie, but has been very busy since then. Okay. The deadline then asks, I still remember seeing his Thor Ragnarok entering with low expectations, watching the exuberant visuals and thinking, this is what you want when you go to a movie theater on a Saturday night. That's obviously a big deal. And Kathleen Kennedy said, so true. And that's exactly the tone that we were looking for with a filmmaker who can pull it off. It's not like they are a dime a dozen. You're really trying to find a diamond in the rough, and he is one of them. Let's not forget here, too, Taika Waititi, it's not like him coming to Star Wars is this crazy, crazy thing. He's worked on Star Wars before. He not only directs episodes of The Mandalorian, he also stars in it as IG-88. Is it 88 or 11? IG-11, right? Wait, what? I'm getting my IGs mixed up. He's IG in Mando. Is it 88 or 11? It's one or the other, because the other one is the one from Empire. Damn it. Can I get some good cups follow orders in the chat, please? Bum, ba. It's IG-11. Okay, so the one from Empire is 88. That makes sense. Okay. But let's not forget that he directed episodes of The Mandalorian and he worked on it as the voice of IG-11. So he's been with Star Wars for quite some time. So Taika doing a Star Wars movie is not that crazy to think it's still happening. Because I'm guessing he's actually going to be in The Mandalorian and Grogu movie too as IG-11. But that's just, you know. It's so crazy to me now. Like, when the Good Cups Full of Orders thing became a thing at first, which is probably now 2 years ago, whenever I'd pull it out, like one person, maybe two would say it. Like, we have freaking a million people saying Good Cups Full of Orders right now. It's crazy. Kid Fisto, what's up? It is crazy. Hey, look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. At least 14, if I counted correctly. Yeah, okay. Well, let's keep going. So, the next question asked is, so even when you hand down the reins of to Lucasfilm's protege, it sure sounds like you're going to be in the world of in the world for 8 to 10 years. Fair? And she says this. I don't know if I'm going to say that, but yeah, it's possible. So she's giving sort of a deadline to it. 8 to 10 years, she's probably not going to be, like, that would put her in charge of the company for 23 years. That's not really likely going to happen. And how old is Kathleen Kennedy? Somebody in the chat help me out. How old is Kathleen Kennedy? Do we know? She's 71. She is 71 years old. So, do you really think that she's going to want to be the president of Lucasfilm when she's 80? No. She wants to retire. Well, not retire, but not be the main person in charge and have all that sort of stress about the workplace. She wants to just be a producer, still making movies, yes, but not being the showrunner, running the entire thing over at Lucasfilm. She just wants to still produce movies, not retire, but retire from the position of president at Lucasfilm. And that makes perfect sense, and she should, honestly. She's been through quite enough. Absolutely. So she's 70. Oh, you guys are saying 72. I Googled 71. Whatever. She's 71. Yeah. 71 George Lucas, how old is George Lucas? Hang on. How old is George Lucas, chat? So George Lucas is 80. He sold the company 13 years ago. That would put him at 67. So he sold the company and stepped down as the president at a younger age. So Kathleen Kennedy surely has been through enough and can deserve to sort of retire and step back from the president of Lucasfilm. She can still produce on the movies and stuff and still help out around, but not be the girl in charge, you know? So let's keep going. Deadline then asks, might you also go back to working with your husband, Frank Marshall, who's doing documentary on Barbra Streisand, another on Fleetwood Mac. Okay, interesting. He truly is something can't stop. Okay, well, let's get to the Star Wars stuff here. No one cares about the number one on the list from Screen Rant's article. Okay. Any regrets? Interesting. No, I mean, far from regrets. I love the challenge of stepping into this space, in literal space, and being with Star Wars for over all these years. Taking on the challenges of expanding the Star Wars universe. I love working with Disney, and the company has been fantastic in the support of the IP. They've expanded things in ways I don't think George could have ever even imagined, and it's been such a learning experience. I've never been an executive before. I've never been an executive before. I'm a filmmaker, though, through and through, sorry. I even approached the executive role as a filmmaker. I love working with filmmakers. That is my lifeblood, and I've enjoyed it more than anything. And being able to do so inside of Star Wars has been really fun because of the people who get to step into Star Wars who are diehard fans. All these people who've been lifelong fans of Star Wars now getting to create the Star Wars content themselves. Where the hell was I? Oh, hang on. We got a membership thing. Hang on. Haja with the 8-month membership. Holy crap, Haja. That's insane. I appreciate it. It says, this is the way. Nice. Say Haja. Move along. Oh, like a droid. Move along. Oh. Wait, what? So excited for all these Star Wars ideas and developments. May the Force be with you all. I appreciate that, Haja. I really, really do. Super chats, memberships, keep the lights on over here. So I appreciate it. And yeah, if you guys didn't know, if you're a member, I believe you get like a member chat at least once a month, but I don't know. But now that I'm so rudely interrupted, let me get back to my article. Jesus. But you look at somebody like Tony Gilroy. She talks about Tony quite a bit here for a little bit. He has done transformative, exceptional work with Star Wars, even though he's not really the biggest Star Wars nerd, but I've been working with Tony for more than a decade. That's insane. I don't think Tony would have ever imagined that he would have done that. Yeah, I don't think he would have either. Tony Gilroy has worked on Star Wars for over a decade. That's wild. Because, yes, he did Rogue One back in 2016. And the production for that was probably 2014, 2015. That's crazy. So it's been a decade since he hopped on and he's done Andor Season 1 and Season 2. The creative experience on Andor has been fantastic. The second season is coming out next month. That's crazy because it's March 1st today. So next month is Andor because it's April 22nd. That's crazy. Okay, next month. That's where the satisfaction comes from for me. And I just hope that that continues. So with that, we get another Tony Gilroy question. You arm twist Tony into doing any of those Star Wars movies after he was uncredited backstop on Rogue One. I don't think I don't think I don't think he'll ever believe that he'd be a decade inside of Star Wars. He's writing on something of his own, and I think he'll just get back into the director's chair. So we'll see how that does. He is such a talent, just fantastic. So many fans are sort of concerned to an extent as to whether or not Tony Gilroy will stick around Star Wars after Andor Season 2 ends. I don't think he will. I think he's going to probably leave and do his own things after that. He spent a decade with Star Wars. I think we should be happy about that as Star Wars fans, but we'll see. Okay. He also provided the creative spine for Bourne Identity. That's true. That's how they all met. Interesting. Okay, final two questions. Will you step out as Lucasfilm boss this year? Well, that's a good question. We really don't know at this stage. There's so much going on, Mike. I get it. There's so much going on. You don't have to call me out by my name, Kathleen. I'm so scared right now. I'm so scared. Okay, but I don't know. So the question is directly asked, will you be out this year? And she says, I don't know. I think she knows, chat. I think she is sort of BSing us right now. I think she knows one way or another, and I think the answer is yes. And I think she doesn't want to say yes because that would be the big announcement right there that she's leaving the company this year. But I think they're waiting for Star Wars Celebration to announce it. And that's why she's playing coy with the idea of leaving this year. Yeah. And then the final question is, who makes that decision when it happens? And she says, it's fully my decision when that happens. It's on me. And that makes sense. I mean, she's been the leader this long. She deserves to get out when she wants to get out, you know? Yeah. So that's the big update. The big sort of headlines here are Shawn Levy's movie is next after the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. It's the very next project, which is absolutely insane to me. I did not think that that was going to happen. And Simon Kinberg's trilogy is going fast and furious and is already on the scripting phase. The idea for the trilogy is already done, and they are scripting it out now. So 9 movies in production, and those 9 are the trilogy we just spoke of, the Mando 2 movies, John and Dave's, 2 Mando movies, 3 new trilogy movies, Rey movie, Shawn Levy movie, James Mangold movie, and Taika Waititi's movie. And you could maybe argue Rogue Squadron as number 10, but we'll leave it out of there for now. 9 Star Wars movies, all confirmed to still be in development, all confirmed to still be a go by Kathleen Kennedy herself. That's pretty wild. So when you look at the future of Star Wars content, when you look at what's going to be announced at Star Wars Celebration, probably not all these movies, maybe the beginning of a new trilogy with Simon Kinberg. Most likely, Shawn Levy's movie is going to be next after the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. You'll probably get a teaser for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, updates on James Mangold's movie, updates on Dave Filoni's movie, updates on the Rey movie. But that's a lot of movies. I mean, we're talking 9 movies. That's at least the next decade of Star Wars content. That's not to mention the streaming shows and the animated shows and all that stuff. That's insane. That's insane. So, the big headline of Kathleen Kennedy retiring or not. Is she retiring from making movies? No. Just like George Lucas is still making movies, technically. She'll never retire from making movies. However, will she retire from the role of president of Lucasfilm? Yes. And I think it will be this year, but only time will tell. And probably at Star Wars Celebration, but again, only time will tell. But tell me what you think in the chat. Do you think Kathleen Kennedy will be retiring by the end of this year? Well, actually, the poll says it all. With over 100 votes on this poll, absolutely insane. 62% of you say yes. You think she will be stepping down from CEO of Lucasfilm this year. And I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. I think she is gone by the end of this year. Not retiring fully from making movies. She will still help out whoever her successor may be. But the conversations we've had this week are still ones that should have happened. Who's going to be the successor of Lucasfilm? Whether it's Dave Filoni, Kevin Feige, Jon Favreau, or anybody else, that's very important. Very, very important. Because whoever it is, it's going to be this massive headline and control the news for weeks and weeks and weeks. Because if it's somebody bad, if it's somebody that fans don't want, it's going to be shit on by all the negative press that exists around the Star Wars fandom. But if it's somebody great, like a Dave Filoni, yes, you're going to have some people who don't like Dave Filoni, whatever. But if it's somebody great like a Dave Filoni, then you're going to have so much love and hype going around the Star Wars fandom. And that's what we need. That's what we need. We got a bunch of membership things here. Kit Fisto with a 2-month membership badge. Lee with a 6-month. Hal Runner Base with a 7-month. Brandon Baker with a 10-month. Holy crap. I appreciate the support, guys. I really, really do. Oh, by the way, there's a members-only live stream tomorrow for Andor Episode 5. Tomorrow, probably around 3 p.m., I guess. Yeah. Okay. So, with that being said, let's sort of stay on the same thing, I guess. But we're going to talk about Simon Kinberg's trilogy specifically, because this is very important. Not only is it already in the scripting process, but it's announced, or Kathleen Kennedy announced, that it is the beginning of a new iteration, a new saga for Star Wars, which has never happened before. We've existed only ever in the Skywalker saga. Even projects like The Acolyte have connections to the Skywalker saga. Everything that has ever happened for the last 48 years in Star Wars has revolved around the Skywalker saga. Until now. Until the Simon Kinberg trilogy that was just announced a few months ago, that Kathleen Kennedy just gave a massive, huge update about. Let's check it out. So, Kathleen Kennedy says Simon Kinberg's Star Wars trilogy is the next iteration of a new saga. There are some major news today from the galaxy far, far away. Not only is Kathleen Kennedy president seemingly not stepping aside anytime soon, again, not true, but she also gave some new details on the upcoming Star Wars universe. One of the tidbits reported by Deadline was on the upcoming trilogy that is being penned by X-Men helmer Simon Kinberg. I get a lot of people are going to see this and think of the bad X-Men movies and think of, what are some bad X-Men movies? Dark Phoenix, or I don't know, whatever the bad X-Men movies are. They're going to think about those. Well, let's not forget he also did the good ones. He worked on Logan and Days of Future Past, and even First Class is pretty damn good. But he also co-created Star Wars Rebels. Star Wars Rebels with Dave Filoni. So that alone is quite a lot. I mean, you talk about having experience with Star Wars, that's very important. So, Simon Kinberg. We now know at least one major detail about the threequel. Nice. It will be the next installment of the new saga, apparently taking place after the events of episode 7 through 9, the sequel trilogy as it were, as we read this already, but this is what she had to say. We are absolutely rolling Fast and Furious, nice, and it has gone exceptionally well, and he's literally going to script as we speak. We'll see something probably around June. Kinberg isn't a newcomer to Star Wars. He co-created and wrote the hit animated show Star Wars Rebels, something that Kennedy alluded to. Simon, if you remember, did some work for us years ago with an animated show. I get a feeling, even with Kennedy saying this, Lucasfilm doesn't understand how good Rebels was. I don't think the Star Wars fandom understands how good Rebels was either. A lot of people couldn't get past the first season because of the animation style, or they thought it was too kiddie, or whatever it may be. But Rebels, if you haven't watched it, please go give it a chance. It is one of the greatest stories ever told in Star Wars, and the characters that come out of it are some of the greatest we've ever seen in Star Wars. And it's literally one of the greatest stories ever told. But having said that, which is really wonderful collaboration experience, that's what I was looking for there. And he is been very busy with X-Men in recent years, and has become available again. So, numerous other Star Wars films are in the works. We talked about this already. 3 Simon Kinberg movies. Possibly return of Daisy Ridley, but Daisy Ridley's movie, Rey movie, which is being now penned by George Nolfi. James Mangold's movie, Shawn Levy's movie, possibly starring Ryan Gosling. We'll get to that in a second. Taika Waititi's movie, the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, and Dave Filoni's Mando movie. But let's talk about this for a sec. So, also thrown into the mix, directed by Shawn Levy, that is set to star Ryan Gosling, as Kennedy revealed it will take place after the Skywalker saga and also feature new characters. That to me is the strangest one. I don't know what's going on with this movie. I have no idea. Why does it take place 5 years after the sequel trilogy if it's just going to have all new characters? Like, what's going on there? I don't know. But the next installment of the new Star Wars saga, film saga, is the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. It is set to release on May 22nd, 2026. Stay tuned for more, blah, 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 blah. So, the big news is the trilogy that is already being scripted and the fact that it will be a new saga in the next iteration in the Star Wars universe. So what does that really mean? Like, what's the villain going to be? Is it going to be a new Sith Lord? Is it going to be the Grisk? Is it going to be the Vong? Who are the new heroes going to be? Is that what the Shawn Levy movie is setting up? I don't know. I really have no idea. I feel like we're so in the dark when it comes to the Shawn Levy movie as opposed to all the other ones. With all the other ones, we know a lot more, let's say. Like, we know at least some sort of either plot or characters that will be involved, or at least anything. With Shawn Levy, we know it'll take place 5 or 6 years after The Rise of Skywalker, and it might star Ryan Gosling, which is so weird to me. Like, Ryan Gosling, of all people, I get that he's really hot in Hollywood right now. Like, he's coming off of a bunch of big, big movies. But what, is he going to play a Jedi? Probably not, because it's Rey's Jedi Order. Probably not. Is he going to play a bounty hunter or something? Maybe. He kind of plays that sort of Han Solo-esque role. Han Solo-esque role in Blade Runner, in the new Blade Runner movie. So maybe he's some sort of that type of role with Ryan Gosling. But it seems like with these movies that have been announced, the 3 new movies, the Kinberg movie, the Kinberg trilogy, the Shawn Levy movie, the Rey movie, they're all post-sequel trilogy focused. That seems to be where they're going. Now, yes, there is the Dawn of the Jedi movie, which is going pre-sequel trilogy. But when you look at the Skywalker saga, pretty much all the gaps are filled. Kathleen Kennedy just said that we are focusing solely on, or mostly solely on, the Mandoverse for the next couple years. 2 Mando movies, Ahsoka Season 2, who knows what else they're going to announce at Star Wars Celebration, but they're filling in that gap between the originals and the sequels. Right now, the gap between the originals and the prequels is pretty damn filled in. The Bad Batch, Rebels, the Jedi games, Kenobi, Solo, Rogue One, Andor, all the books and comics that take the Vader comics. It's filled in quite a bit. So that time period is pretty good. Like, we can push that to the side. It's done. The Mandoverse, however, has a bunch of story to be told still. How Palpatine comes back, how the First Order rises to power, the Heir to the Empire story, the Luke Skywalker's Jedi Temple story, all that needs to be told. But when that is told, then the Skywalker saga is pretty much done. You got a pretty full, filled up story in the Skywalker saga, and it's time to move on. At that point, you're going to have to move on one of 2 ways, and or both, and it looks like they're going to do both. They're doing 5 movies, a trilogy, and 2 movies, solo movies, in a post-sequel world. They're doing 1 movie so far in a pre-prequel world, and that is James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi. But that's it. So are they going to go only post-sequels, or are they also going to go to the Old Republic era? Well, that's, I guess, what we'll find out over the next coming years. Easy for me to say. But that's pretty wild, that they are announcing 5 Star Wars movies in a post-sequel world. But now the question to you, chat, is where would you want to go more? And I'm going to put this up in a poll. Let's do this. Another Mike who loves Star Wars. What's up? Okay. Where do you want Star Wars to go? Before the Skywalker saga or after the Skywalker saga? Before or after? What do we want? Now, yes, you're going to probably say, why not both, Mike? And we are likely to get both. But if you could only choose one, what do we think? I doubt the new trilogy will be called episode 10, 11, 12. No, it definitely won't. It definitely won't, but then the question is, what will it be called? Because you can't really call it episode 1, 2, and 3. That's actually a very big issue. What do you call the new trilogy? I have no idea. Because you already have episode 1, 2, and 3. Can't really do that. And if you are going to go 10, 11, 12, then if you ever decide to do an Old Republic trilogy, what do you call that? Episode -3, -2, -1? Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty interesting. It'll have its own titles. It will be its own look, I suppose. Yeah, but you have to somehow identify it as 1, 2, and 3 without calling it episode 1, 2, and 3. You know? So what do you call it? Chapter 1, 2, and 3? I have no idea. Yeah. Another Mike who loves Star Wars with a very generous $5 holla. I appreciate that, Mike. I really, really do. Super chats, memberships keep the lights on over here. And like you notice, of course, the lights are off, so we're struggling, I guess. Got paid today. Nice. Thought I'd send some help over for a nice live sign that you apparently ordered from Temu. Funny. May the live sign be with you. I appreciate that, Mike. No, I did not order it from Temu. It is off of Amazon, but for some reason it takes forever to come from Amazon. So I really don't know. I really don't. Wow, this poll is way closer than I thought it was going to be. What? I'm actually kind of shocked by this. This poll is 60-40. I thought this would be like a blowout. Knowing how much people love the sort of Old Republic era, I thought this would be a blowout. Interesting. 60% of you guys say before the Skywalker saga, and 40% of you say after. Interesting. Okay. The titles could be part 1, part 2, part 3. Could be. Could be. Yeah, for sure. Well, let's say this, because we're going to 5 Star Wars movies. At least one of these movies, and hopefully all of them, have to have a villain. I mean, you have to have a conflict. So, who's going to be the new villain or villains of this post-sequel world? Who is Ryan Gosling going to be fighting against? Or will he be the villain? I don't know. And then after that, what's the Rey movie's villain? What's this new trilogy's villain? Another Mike who loves Star Wars says, I really want to explore the origins of the Jedi in the early Sith. I wouldn't mind living in the New Republic era for a while, though. Yeah, I mean, you got to tell the story of the New Republic era. But absolutely, I mean, telling the wars of the Sith and the Jedi would be so awesome. Seeing that in live action would be incredible. Darth Thor says, Star Wars The Old Republic, episode 1, 2, and 3. See, that would just confuse way too many people, though. Because if it's episode 1, 2, and 3, you just think immediately, when I say episode 1, you think The Phantom Menace. When I say episode 2, you think Attack of the Clones. When I say episode 3, you think Revenge of the Sith. It'd be very hard to delineate, you know? Part A, B, and C. Not a bad idea, Trevor. Not a terrible idea. Yeah. Not terrible. I'd like to explore. Whoa. Okay. Never mind. Gosling could be a hero or a villain if that's a setup. It would be great. That's interesting. What if Shawn Levy's movie is really just to set up Ryan Gosling's character as the next villain of the Star Wars universe? What if it's an origin story for the next Sith Lord or next leader of the Sith or something along those lines? It's possible. That's definitely possible. It's almost like what is the purpose of the Shawn Levy movie starring Ryan Gosling? That's the question that needs to be answered, you know? Yeah. What is the point? Okay. Well, while we talk about that, while you guys answer that poll, let's take a look at this. Oh wow, The Mandalorian season 3 premiered 2 years ago today. Nice, pretty cool, pretty cool. That's insane. All right, let's do this. Okay, Andor season 2. Let's talk some Andor season 2. So Andor season 2, we are now in March. Andor season 2 will be next month on April 22nd. We got the trailer on Monday of this week. So this week was absolutely insane. We started out this week with a trailer for Andor on Monday. Actually, no. Even earlier in the week, we started this week off on Sunday with the What If that I dropped. Let's not forget about that. But the Andor trailer drops on Monday. Tuesday is all about Kathleen Kennedy retiring and that whole debacle. Wednesday, Thursday is almost like who's going to replace Kathleen? And still the Andor hype is insane. Andor hype all week. Kathleen Kennedy going to retire all week. And then Thursday, Friday is Kathleen Kennedy is not retiring, but this Deadline article is going to give us some insane announcements on 10 different Star Wars movies. 8 different Star Wars movies. But yeah, you know what I mean. 10 different Star Wars movies. Oh my God. Hang on, John. I'll get to that in 1 second. So it was a crazy week for Star Wars news. Absolutely crazy. And I feel like everything that happened since Monday, since Andor's trailer dropped, almost made people forget about Andor. Like the news headline was taken away from Andor season 2 when it should have been all about Andor season 2. It all focused back on Kathleen Kennedy and her retirement and or stepping down from CEO position or whatever it may be, whatever she's doing. That was the focus for the rest of the week. And Andor season 2 didn't get really the love it should with the incredible trailer that we got. So let's go back to this trailer. Let's talk about it and let's get hyped up for this second season. But before we do any of that, John Groom with a very generous $20 holla. Holy crap, John. I appreciate that quite a bit. Says, Mike, when they bring back the Sith, would you want a Sith order or some random individual? And how would you do it? Oh, okay, interesting. How would I bring back the Sith? I'd bring it back as an order. The rule of 2 didn't work. Let's put it that way. For 1,000 years, the rule of 2 was put into place. And you could say, I guess it worked because in recent canon, the explanation of the rule of 2 was more so to get the dyad in the Force. And that's what the sequel trilogy was. But the Sith returning would have to be in some sort of order, like Sith cultists gang together some Force users to create a Sith order. It wouldn't really be the rule of 2 anymore. And I'd prefer it that way because then you get to get some massive Sith wars versus Jedi, or Sith battles versus Jedi, which would be awesome. And that's what I would prefer. But a Maul impression, sure. In my mind's eye, I can feel it. Kenobi! Okay, I appreciate it, John. I really, really do. $20 is insanely generous, and I appreciate the super chat. Okay, with that being said, though, I would rather it be a Sith order. However, with Palpatine having just died in the sequel trilogy, and hopefully for good this time, we don't need somehow Palpatine returns again. But let's say Palpatine's dead and the Sith are vanquished, at least for a while. Then we need a new villain. And I think the best bet for a new villain would be Abeloth, especially when, even though it's a new saga, it's a completely new story with new characters in this Simon Kinberg trilogy. You could bring over an aspect of the Skywalker saga with Abeloth. Abeloth will be introduced, hopefully, in Ahsoka Season 2. However, I don't think she's going to become the main villain in the New Republic era. I think Anakin and Ahsoka will spend the rest of their days keeping Abeloth imprisoned on Peridea. And then, somewhere down the line, 15 years, 16, 15, actually it would be like 30 years later, in this Simon Kinberg trilogy, Abeloth somehow breaks free, somehow gets freed, whatever it may be. She gets freed and becomes the main villain. If she's the villain, that's fantastic. Because when you think about it this way, the Skywalker saga is 9 films. Well, it's 11 films, but it's 9 films, 3 big trilogies. Of those 3 big trilogies, the villain every single time is Palpatine. It's really the Palpatine saga, but he's the villain every single time. So you're going from Palpatine, the greatest villain of all time, to whoever comes next. Whoever comes next has to be incredibly badass and cool, and that is Abeloth. Now, you could go the route of a species like a Grisk or the Vong, which could also be cool, but I think Abeloth is your best bet for a future bad guy. And not only that, you can set her up in the Skywalker saga. But tell me in the chat, do you think that's a good idea? Is Abeloth the right path to go down? Because you can set her up in the Ahsoka series, so now you have a connection back to those characters. So even though it's a new saga, you still have connections to the Chosen One, Anakin, and Ahsoka when you see Abeloth. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think in the chat. Okay. 50 Thunder with a very generous $5 holla. I appreciate that, 50 Thunder. I really, really do. Says, Mike, your impressions are incredible. Thank you. I think that's maybe sarcastic, but I appreciate it. How about trying a Kathleen Kennedy impression? Keep up the good work, Mike. Thank you. A Kathleen Kennedy impression. Can I do more of an ironic one? Kathleen Kennedy impression. All right, I guess I got to pull up her talking, right? All right, chat. I'll do it. The things I do for you. Kathleen. This just seems mean. Like doing Star Wars characters, I get. This just seems mean. Okay.
You know, I think what's really great is that we're branching out into all these different stories, and Leslie Headland is ushering in this new era of Star Wars, and now we're seeing people lining up the...
I'm not doing it. That seems too mean. You gotta give me a fictional character. I'm not doing it. Only Star Wars characters only. Not doing it, chat. Not doing it. That's too mean. All right, let's go to the Andor trailer. Let's go to the Andor trailer, chat. I'm not feeling mean today, chat. I'm feeling nice. Palatik. Oh, my. I appreciate the hearts, though. I really, really do. Holy crap, that's a lot of hearts. Chat, keep your hearts. You're throwing all your heart. How are you living? Oh, my God. Yeah. Palatik? No, absolutely not. Okay, Andor Season 2 trailer. All right, so what we're going to do here, there's some stuff in here that really, it doesn't show you it, but it makes you really think about what this show is going to be about. Because when we really think about Andor Season 2, we know so little about this show. So little. Like literally nothing about this show. Pretty much nothing. We know that it's going to be 3-episode arcs that will all release at the same time on 4 different weeks. We know that there will be time jumps in between arcs. That's cool and all, but when it comes to plot, we know that the Gorman Massacre will be in it. That's about it. So let's sort of dissect this trailer a little bit, shall we? So it opens with the Gorman Massacre, like we talked about. This is Gorman. All these people, these innocent pedestrians, will be dead by the end of this. But yeah. Rose, what's up? So somebody thinks that this is Bix. I thought it maybe is Vel. I don't know, Chad. Who do we think this is? Because whoever it is, this is Coruscant. It has to be. You can see it out the window there. And this looks like it's probably some Imperial facility. So whoever it is either escaping from an Imperial facility or just broke into an Imperial facility. Who do we think this is walking away? The cloak or the trench coat, I guess, makes me think more of Vel, or Vale, whatever her name is. But tell me what you think. Oh my God. 50 Thunder with a very generous, another $5 hollow. What the hell? You're absolutely insane. Says, okay, sorry about the last super chat. Didn't mean to make you feel mean. No, it's fine. Don't you worry about it. How about your best Salacious B. Crumb impression? You guys are crazy. Okay, I'll give you a Salacious B. Hang on. You guys are absolutely insane. Salacious B, huh? That's how it's gonna be. Salacious B. Get it? Okay. Somebody made an Andor season 2 trailer, but with different music. That's hilarious. Okay. Star Wars Salacious B Crumb. Okay. Okay, I don't know, chat. I don't even know what we're doing anymore here. I'm laughing like Salacious B over here. I appreciate it, 50 Thunder. I really, really do. Do I? I do. I really do. Yeah. Okay, is this Bix or Vale? Somebody said it's Bix. It's the same trench coat she's wearing when they pull the trigger. Okay, interesting. Let's see. Oh, fascinating. So is this the same trench coat as this? Yeah, it looks pretty similar. Okay, so it's Bix. That means that Bix and Cassian are clearly up to something crazy on whatever planet this is. Interesting.
We're in a war.
This we've talked about before, but this is Yavin 4. It gives us the possibility. Oh my God, Brandon. This gives us the possibility of seeing characters like a Bail Organa or a Leia Organa or a Harrison Dula or a Chopper or whatever. This is sort of dependent on how much they're going to rely on cameos. The first season of Andor has pretty much no cameos. No, it pretty much has no cameos other than Saw Gerrera. But even still, I don't know how reliant they're going to be on cameos in this second season. Yeah, it does have to tie into Rogue One, Christoph, sorry. You're absolutely right. And I think it will. But to what extent? Like, Krennic's going to be in it. K2SO is going to be in it. But will characters like Bail Organa or Leia, Hera, Vader, Palpatine, will those characters be in this show? I really don't know. I don't think so, but only time will tell.
You want to fight?
People thought this was Lothal. I don't think it is anymore. The fields look different because we've seen Lothal in live action now in Ahsoka Season 1, and it doesn't really look like this. But even still, this is where Bix and Brazos go into hiding.
Who you want to win?
By the way, the soundtrack of this has completely grown on me. At first, I really hated it. I thought it was just stupid. It felt so out of place. Didn't feel like Star Wars. But now it's like, it's what it's supposed to be. I mean, this is Andor. It's a revolution. It starts now. It's weird, but it makes sense. Like, the next trailer will probably not have this type of music, but it works to an extent. Dustin says, Luthen's going to have to die this season, unfortunately. Yeah, I think so. I think this season's going to have a lot of death. I mean, season 1 had a lot of death. I feel like people forget about that. Season 1, the entire Aldhani arc, all those characters dead except for Vale and Cinta, I guess. But Skeen, Nemec, blanking on his name, they're all dead. The Narkina 5 arc, so many of them die. So many, Tim dies, the older dude dies at the end of the show. Like, there's so many people who die in this first season. I think second season will be even more. Yeah. All the cereal growing on that planet will go, oh my God. You love the soundtrack? Interesting. Yeah. Oh, 100%. I think Luthen will go out with a bang. I mean, he's the leader of the rebellion, so he's going to have to go out with some sort of bang. Mon Mothma's daughter's wedding is going to be very important. This is the only scene we see of Luthen in this trailer. And by the way, some people have sort of now noticed this. B2 is not in the trailer at all. this is Cassian kind of with the... Yeah, he's got like the final arc haircut here.
Now.
Maybe a little bit, but I don't know. It's hard to tell when this is going to take place in the show. And is Bix going to really join the rebellion and be a part of the rebellion? I think her death will probably come sort of mid-season to sort of be a catalyst to Cassian for the remaining portion of the show, but I guess we'll see. All right, so Krennic. Krennic, like I just mentioned before, gives you the opportunity to see characters like a Vader or a Palpatine or even a Tarkin. But the likelihood of seeing those characters seems unlikely at this point. However, Krennic being in this trailer, and of course, looking at the Death Star is pretty wild. Seeing that at the beginning of Rogue One, when Cassian goes into that sort of alleyway, let's say, Star Wars alleyway, and talks to the guy with one arm before killing him about the Death Star, planet-killing weapon, the pilot who has escaped from the Empire with this information, and Galen Erso. Cassian at that point knows who Galen Erso is. So at some point in this second season of Andor, he has to learn who Galen Erso is. Saw Gerrera, in theory, should have a young Jyn Erso working for him. So if we see more of Saw Gerrera, which we see more of him in this trailer, then it's likely that we could be seeing more, possibly seeing Jyn Erso, but likely getting more of the Galen Erso story told while he's working on the Death Star. But hey, we'll see.
Well, party this is.
For some reason, this guy's dead. I mean, this is Saw Gerrera's planet. This is where his base was. Forget the name of the planet. Somebody tell me in the chat. But this was the planet where Saw Gerrera's base was, and they're leaving. Looks like they're all leaving, but this guy's not. He's clearly dead. So I don't know what's going on here, but pretty weird. Again, Gorman Massacre, all these people are dead. Like, when we talk about seeing a lot of deaths in this, like, all these people on the ground, dead. They're gone. It's a massacre. It's called a massacre for a reason. Not a lot of Dedra in this trailer. I don't know if her role is going to be diminished in the second season or what. Maybe she dies. I don't know. I don't know. That's a badass scene right there. Just absolutely lighting up Stormtroopers. So some people notice this. This looks like... Oh, I forgot about my new trick. Hang on. Oh, yeah. Let's go. Okay. So some people have noticed this looks like Mon Mothma has the really shorter hair. And she has the really short hair in Rogue One. If I can pull that up real quick. In Rogue One, Mon Mothma, Rogue One, she has this really short hair like she has in the original trilogy. She has this type of hair. Sort of like bowl cut looking thing. So she's got that. This almost looks like she could have had a haircut and she's getting to that spot now, but I don't know. There has to be a reason that this tiny little couple frame shot is in the trailer. Like, it's just very quickly. It's just like boom, and then gone. It's very, very quick. So I really don't know what else is going on here that would be so important, except for maybe her hair being shorter. Then we get K2SO, which is great. I mean, getting to see his origin story and how him and Cassian become friends is going to be pretty cool. But I guess that's all we got. And of course, Cyril and his mom, but just Cyril. So the massacre is going to be very cool because we're going to get to see the massacre in general. But Cyril's there, and so is Cassian. And they, of course, have a very rich history from the first season. And that'll be interesting to see. This, I believe, is the pilot from Rogue One. So he's going to play another role. I forget what his name is. And who knows what the hell's going on here? Like, this lady seems to be almost imperial or something, and she's pointing a gun at all these people.
Remember this moment. You're here. You're right here.
Who knows who's he's yelling at? So I think he's going to have a bigger role in this second season. I just don't know what it is, really.
And you're ready to fight.
And the whole Star Wars story thing, I still don't get it, but it's called Andor Star Wars Story Season 2. So April 22nd. Yeah. So again, we don't really know much about the plot of this second season. Oh, forgot a super chat? Hang on. Oh, sorry. How about a Tivik impression, please? Tivik. And will we see Tivik in season 2? He's not in the trailer. Who the hell is Tivik? Why am I not? This is not registering in my head. Hang on, chat. Tivik? Oh, he's the guy who he goes to meets in the opening scene of Rogue One. Okay. Very strange poll, but I like it. So Tivik is the guy who Cassian goes to meet in that first sort of meeting. Sure, I can give you an impression of Tivik, I guess. But I appreciate the $5. I really, really do. Let's do this. Tivik. Star Wars. That's why I didn't know his name, because he's in one scene.
To leave.
Will he be in Rogue One? Maybe. I mean, he's a rebel. That'd be cool.
I was about to leave. I came as fast as I could. I have to get back on board. Walk with me.
He's got this nice accent. I was about to leave.
Back to Jeddah? They'll leave without me.
They'll leave without me.
Easy. You have news from Jeddah. Come on. An Imperial pilot. One of the cargo drivers, he defected yesterday.
An Imperial pilot. I love that accent. It is so good. The fact that a lot of characters have that in Star Wars is so good. But I appreciate it, 50 Thunder. I really, really do. Indeed. Yeah, Cass puts him down. First, I mean, he only gets one scene because Cassian puts him down real quick, but that's an important scene. And honestly, with Andor Season 2 coming, it's going to be even more important. Ah! Stretch. Okay. Yeah. Hire Mike as an extra now. Yeah, let's get on that. Can I get in Andor Season 2? It's probably a little too late for that. Can I get in the Shawn Levy movie with Ryan Gosling? Lucasfilm? Please? Just as a background. I'll be an extra. I'll be the guy in the background going, ah, ah. Yeah. Okay, let me end this poll, by the way, which is still shockingly close. I did not think it would be this close, but 59% of you say you want Star Wars to go before the Skywalker saga, and 40% of you say after. The math is not mathing, but still. There you have it. There you have it. All right. We have passed the 2-hour mark, and I do have to get on out of here, but I got to go finish a short for today. But this Deadline article was pretty damn wild. It's talking about Kathleen Kennedy and not retiring, but also retiring at the same time. Yeah, so giving us updates on Shawn Levy's movie, on the Simon Kinberg trilogy, and all that crazy stuff. 9 new Star Wars movies, all sort of given big updates by Kathleen Kennedy herself, the president of the company, and what her future looks like. Could be this year. Could be a Star Wars Celebration when they announce that she is donezo, and the next person will be coming on board, which is pretty cool. I appreciate the hearts, guys. I really, really do. All the memberships, I mean, super chats and memberships, I appreciate them so much more than you'll ever know. 50 Thunder, huge shout out to you. John Groom, another Mike who loves Star Wars. Darth Drafter, Darth Plagueis Lives, I appreciate it. I really, really do. And for the members, we have a members-only live stream tomorrow, probably at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to watch Episode 5 of Andor Season 1 as we get hyped up for Season 2. Yeah. So, more Darth Plagueis, please. Oh, I love that. I mean, Acolyte Season 2 would be fantastic as well. But if you have not already, smash a freaking like on the stream. So I'm not upset with you guys about not smashing a like on the stream. It just helps the algorithm, you know. Yeah. Okay, but until then, watch out for a short tonight. Of course, the members-only live stream tomorrow. and we're going to start to sort of work on the next what if. So it won't be coming out tomorrow, but hopefully next week we will get the next what if out and going. So I appreciate you guys. Smash a freaking like on the stream if you have not already. Hit that subscribe and hit that bell to get notified every time I post a video of my previous. May the force be with you. Always. Oh, yeah. What a great stream. What a great show. You guys are the absolute best. I appreciate you all so much more than you will ever know. This was a crazy one. I mean, Kathleen Kennedy not retiring anytime soon. Wants to make movies for the rest of her life. But she could be stepping down as president of Lucasfilm very, very soon. But until then, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Star Wars Celebration is going to be insane. Like, we're going to get so many insane announcements. And I can just feel it coming. But until then, I hope you have a great rest of your evening, great rest of your lives, and good night, everybody. Oh my God.